If you're someone who tracks global economic trends, or maybe you're just fascinated by how cities can transform at incredible speed, there's one place that really has to be on your radar: Addis Ababa.
That's absolutely right. The sources we've been digging into, they all describe Ethiopia's capital as, well, the fastest growing city in Africa. And the transformation they document it's visually staggering.
It really is. I mean, the core observation is just so powerful. If you had visited Addis Ababa maybe 10 years ago, you just wouldn't recognize the skyline today.
Not at all.
The material we have talks about a forest of cranes, a symphony of construction. It's a full-scale metamorphosis happening right now, in real time.
And I think the key thing here, the insight that jumps out, is that this incredible pace of change isn't, accidental. It's not just a market boom. It's the result of a very deliberate long-term strategy.
So that's our mission for this deep dive. We're going to unpack that strategy for you. We're looking at the sources to understand the deliberate planning behind this, why it's being called a beacon of Africa rising, and, what its unique growth model might mean for other cities around the world.
To start, I think we have to talk about the physical evidence.
Yeah.
Because the concrete and steel, that's the clear sign of what's happening.
Right.
This whole transformation is being driven by these huge, ambitious mega projects that are literally redrawing the map of the city.
And the most iconic one, the one that's meant to be on the future postcard of Addis, has to be the Sheger Riverside Project.
Oh, absolutely. This isn't just a development. It's a complete overhaul.
Tell us about that.
Well, it's a multi-billion-dollar project along the riverbanks. And what's so fascinating is that the vision goes so much deeper than just building, a few shiny towers.
It's more than real estate.
Exactly. It's about creating a whole new central business and diplomatic district. So yes, you get the sleek skyscrapers, the international hotels, cultural centers, but they're also cleaning up the river itself. They're turning what was a neglected waterway into a central city asset, a symbol of vitality.
That focus on quality of life is really significant, and it seems to connect with the other big infrastructure challenge, just moving people around.
Right. Mobility and connectivity they're foundational to this whole story. The sources all point to the Addis Ababa light rail system.
The huge deal for the region.
A monumental first for sub-Saharan Africa. And its expansion is just vital for easing the city's pretty notorious traffic jams. It connects the new suburbs to the economic core. I mean, without that kind of foundational piece, the whole engine just stalls.
And then on a global scale, you can't ignore Bole International Airport.
You really can't. It's constantly being upgraded, reinforcing its role as one of the most critical aviation hubs on the entire continent. When you talk about a city being a global gateway, Bole Airport is literally that mechanism. It lets capital and people flow in and out.
And circling back to that quality of life point, it's not all concrete. I was struck by the investment in green spaces.
Yes, like Sheger Park. Creating these vast recreational areas shows they're thinking about the long term. You can't just build for density. You need what the sources call recreational lungs for the citizens. It signals a strategy for livability, not just commercial growth.
Okay, so that's the concrete, the steel, the parks. But these projects, they require immense capital, a powerful economic reason to exist. Let's shift to the boom that's powering all this.
Exactly. The physical change is just the visible symptom of a much deeper Ethiopian development boom. For over a decade now, Ethiopia's economy has been one of the fastest growing in the world, and Addis is the undeniable engine of that.
And the main strategy here seems to be industrialization. The sources really focus on these massive, dedicated industrial parks.
It is absolutely by design. This is a very targeted effort to shift the country away from an agrarian economy towards manufacturing. What's really remarkable is the scale. These parks aren't just collections of factories.
They're more like ecosystems.
That's a great way to put it. They're export-oriented zones with their own streamlined regulations, tax holidays, integrated logistics, and it's worked. It has attracted huge foreign investment, especially from Asia, and transformed sectors like textiles and apparel into major export earners.
And this is where the story gets really interesting, because it pivots from that sort of classic manufacturing model into the future economy. I'm talking about the tech sector.
Chiba Valley.
Chiba Valley, a very clear nod to Silicon Valley. It's a statement of intent, right?
A huge statement. This is critical because they're not just building for old industries, they're trying to foster new ones. And what's fueling Chiba Valley isn't just a young, tech-savvy population, though that's a huge part of it.
There's policy behind it.
Targeted policy support, especially in areas like fintech and agritech. The goal is clear. build a digital infrastructure that lets them leapfrog older technologies and really compete in the global digital economy. That rapid rise in internet penetration is directly tied to the hope for high-value, sustainable jobs.
So we have the visible transformation, we have the economic engine. Now we need to get into the how and the why. What are the strategic drivers making this happen so incredibly fast?
Our sources point to 4 core drivers that really underpin this whole thing. And the first one is, it's probably the most essential to this particular story, the government-led vision.
Okay, so explain that state-led model. What does that actually look like day to day compared to growth that's driven purely by private companies?
Well, in short, the government acts as the main orchestrator, the primary financer and risk taker. This is all codified in these national strategies called the growth and transformation plans.
So it's very top-down.
Very. Unlike a purely market-driven economy where private capital leads the way, here the state channels massive public investment, often through state-owned enterprises, directly into strategic projects, things like the industrial parks and the railway. The idea is the state does the heavy lifting first.
To create the conditions for private money to come in later.
Exactly. To de-risk it for them. It's an acceleration engine.
But historically, these state-led models have huge risks. I mean, debt accumulation, inefficiency. Do the sources point to any of those pitfalls?
That's the crucial question. And yes, they acknowledge the risk, particularly around debt. But the model is designed to tie these massive investments directly to export generation. The goal is for the infrastructure to pay for itself by driving the economic activity needed to service that debt.
It's a high-stakes gamble, then.
A very high-stakes, long-term gamble. It's all based on maintaining that high-speed growth.
Okay, so driver number 2 seems to be more about geopolitics.
Precisely. Strategic geopolitics. Addis Ababa is the diplomatic home of the African Union. That gives it this uniquely powerful position.
And that's more than just prestige, right? It's an economic anchor.
It's a massive economic anchor. It guarantees a constant inflow of international diplomats, NGOs, Pan-African institutions. That creates a sustained high-demand market for everything from premium housing to conference centers. It basically ensures the city stays on the international radar.
Driver 3 is maybe the most unique national advantage they have, the aviation connectivity factor.
This is their trump card. The sources give so much credit to the success of Ethiopian Airlines for turning Addis into a true global gateway.
It's one of the biggest airlines in Africa.
One of the biggest and best connected. It links dozens of African capitals, not just to Europe and the Americas, but crucially to the fast-growing economies in Asia. It establishes the city as the most logical, most accessible transit point on the continent. That's essential for business.
And finally, the ultimate resource, the one that powers both the construction sites and the tech hubs, people, the demographic dividend.
You just can't build a city this fast without the human capital. Ethiopia has one of the youngest populations in the world. So you have this vast, energetic workforce fueling every part of the boom.
But just having a lot of young people isn't enough, is it?
No, that's the key. The dividend part only works if you have massive, sustained investment in education and skills training. You have to ensure those young people can become the engineers and coders of tomorrow, not just laborers today. That challenge upskilling an entire generation is as big as the opportunity.
So when you put those 4 things together, the state vision, the diplomatic anchor, the airline network, and this young population, you really start to see why this isn't just a standard building boom. It's a structural realignment.
And the ripple effect of that realignment is felt way beyond Ethiopia's borders. The transformation of Addis is becoming a powerful symbol for progress across all of East Africa.
It really challenges those outdated, monolithic narratives about the continent, which the sources point out again and again.
It does. It provides a tangible model for other African nations. It shows that rapid, meaningful urban development is actually achievable with strategic investment and strong leadership. It's Africa taking control of its own development narrative.
But as you said earlier, rapid growth always creates friction. The sources are pretty clear that Addis Ababa, while it's this amazing case study, is also grappling with the challenges of that speed.
Of course. It's not a perfect story.
And we have to acknowledge those hurdles. The sheer pace creates huge issues with urban sprawl.